Let us talk about Lebanon because right now, Lebanon has come under some of the most devastating attacks from Israel. And I don't think there's enough attention on Lebanon. I've seen from Lebanese people and commentators who've, either they're in Lebanon or their families in Lebanon who are desperately trying to get attention on Lebanon, especially as this ceasefire with Iran is happening. And Israel has said that they would talk with Lebanon, but are still striking Lebanon, claiming that they're striking Hezbollah. Iran has insisted that Lebanon is covered by the ceasefire, but the United States and Israel have said it's not. They're like, nope, we didn't agree to that. And we're going to keep striking Lebanon, but we'll agree to talk with Lebanon. And Lebanon is like, why the fuck would we talk with you when you're still striking us?
VJ, I'm very excited that we can be joined in this conversation right now by Rania Khalek, who was able to leave Beirut and is in a safe location. Rania, we're very happy you're with us.
I'm very happy to be with you too, you guys. Today was absolutely horrendously terrifying, and the Israelis are just taking...
Mia Khalifa spoke passionately. Yes, I saw that the hospital she was born in was bombed. If you have the clip of Mia talking, we can watch it.
They're demolishing buildings that are not far from where you used to live in Beirut, VJ. Like, today was, I just don't know how else to express it. Just wanton destruction, utterly terrifying, massacres of buildings and areas of Beirut they hadn't hit before, with zero warnings to people. I actually have never been as scared as I was today. And so is everybody around me. Today was very much a Gaza-like situation taking place. Just before, I left one area of Beirut, like 15 minutes later, they took down an entire building. VJ,
it's like they are committing a 9/11 every 2 seconds.
Probably know Abbas Verdun. They took down a building right near it. These are, areas of Beirut that are typically not touched by war like this. And again, full of people, full of residents. The Israelis saying they're going after Hezbollah, that they're going after...
Just to put into perspective, Lebanon is about the size of Connecticut. It's really not very big. It has a population of around 5 million. It's about 4,000 square miles. So it's similar in size to Connecticut, or about half of New
military
Jersey.
Fighters. There's no fighting happening in Beirut. There's no fighters in Beirut. The fighters are all in the south, where these...
Yeah, just to give you an idea, if you're wondering how intense the bombing in Beirut, I hate to have to compare it to the United States, but just for Americans to be able to visualize, this is horrific on its own. But you just keep thinking, imagine if this were happening in Connecticut, that they are being bombed with this intensive and this nonstop of firepower. If you're wondering how intense the bombing Beirut was yesterday, you need to watch this video. It documents the bombardment around the Indonesian hospital in northern Gaza near my family's home in November 2023. This is what we call a fire belt in Arabic. It means relentless consecutive strikes that feel like hell itself. I lived through this many times in Gaza before we left for Egypt. It feels like the end of the world, as if you're standing in flames from every direction with no escape and no way out. It's hell. All day, my videos from this morning, they have been doing this all day. I mean, and this is after this is after months since the ceasefire with Lebanon, with Hezbollah in 2024, they have violated the ceasefire over 15,000 times. Entire city blocks being fucking leveled. And remember, too, that Israel will argue, and this is why they say that they're the most moral army in the world. They will say, we give people a heads up before we bomb them, which even if that were true, that is no measure of morality. To give people a heads up before you illegally bomb them and their infrastructure and their entire way of life, that's not morality. But the thing is that Israel's a fucking liar. You want to know what they'll do? They will post things on certain, say, Twitter channels. And Rania was talking about this on Bad Faith. And she's like, I know about this because I'm a journalist and I am constantly, I'm constantly reporting and I'm online. And so I know where Israel will post things, and it will be at the last minute and only in very specific areas. And then they will cite that as reasons to why they are the moral party here. Yeah, the heads up is like 60 seconds. It's basically like, hey, heads up, we're going to bomb. And maybe a couple people see this online somewhere, but it's too late anyway. Do you know how unbelievably stressful it is when there is indiscriminately bombing happening like this, where they are targeting hospitals, residential buildings? It's not like, oh, they're hitting legitimate military targets, despite them saying it. We know that's not what they do. So as somebody living here, you don't know where to go. And anything is a valid target in Israel's eyes. The very building that you are living in, the mosque, the synagogue, your place of worship, your school, where your children are at. And there's so much chaos and smoke and it's frightening. It just is. It's terrorism. That's what it is. It's terrorism. It strikes complete terror in the hearts of the people who are subjected to this. And here's the thing, okay? Israel is a country that has nukes. They are a country that are openly genocidal, that they do not have any red lines. So you tell me who's the real threat. You tell me, with all the, Iran is the greatest adversary, Hezbollah, Hamas. Who is the only party here in the Middle East that has nukes, that has some of the most prolific nuclear program in the world, one of the most prolific nuclear programs in the world, and has no moral qualms, is committing genocide in one area, is launching indiscriminate, nonstop hellfire bombing campaigns across the broader region, no fucking oversight, no accountability, nothing. Way more afraid of Israel than any other country because they have proven themselves to be a threat, because they have shown you time and time again that you should be afraid. You should be afraid because they are a mad dog that is off the fucking leash.
Israelis are struggling to invade the country. So they were just carrying out wanton destruction today. I just want to give some numbers while I'm at it to
Real despo thing with the
explain
6
to you
months.
just how severe this was. The Israelis used 50 planes to drop 160 bombs in 100 locations across Lebanon in 10 minutes today. And then they bragged about it. There's so far 89 dead and over 800 injured. I'm certain that number is going to rise. For hours, all I heard was ambulances. For hours and hours, just ambulance after ambulance. The hospitals are completely overwhelmed. There's so many locations that were hit today across the city. Civil defense did not have time to get to one place or the next. I mean, there's people still under the rubble. I mean, it was the kind of day where, just like from a personal perspective, I spent the day looking around the walls that were around me and hoping to God that they weren't going to become a weapon against me. Because all you can do in that situation is shelter in place and hope to God the Israelis don't hit your building, or don't hit the building next to you, or the building across the street from you. Beirut is so incredibly densely populated. And I know this sounds probably familiar because we heard people in Gaza say it. And we've heard people in parts of Lebanon say it, in the southern suburbs of Beirut.
Yes, it's densely populated. You have entire families who live together. It's not like here in suburbia in the United States where things are more spread out. Now, obviously, we have densely populated cities as well, but this is very cultural in Lebanon, in Palestine. You have entire families. I'm talking literally the whole extended family. And Israel knows this, which is why they know that hitting one place can wipe out an entire bloodline, can wipe out multiple bloodlines, can cause the maximum amount of damage because of how densely populated and how entire families reside together.
Say it. And it's not that one part of Lebanon is more important than another part. It's just that this is literally.
And the thing too that gets lost here is the psychological trauma. It's not just the physical threat. It is that every time you hear a whistling sound, every time you see somebody start to run, it is so traumatizing. There are some of those devastating reports that I have read from Palestine talking about how many little kids in Palestine want to die, that the rates of suicidal ideation, depression, crippling anxiety because of that psychological trauma. I mean, this is the genocide that is committed on multiple fronts, right? This is the threat that persists even for those who have survived so far the bombing and the starvation and all the other tools of the occupying force. It's horrifying, and I've shared my experience with being swatted, but I still have PTSD when I hear somebody knock on the door, when I hear Farley barking. Like, there is still a part of me that there's this physiological reaction that no matter how much therapy or anything, it's like instinctively that comes to surface. Now, that is one instance that I experienced where, yes, it was threatening, but is still not comparable to what Palestinians and Lebanese and Iranians and all people who have been subjected to this reign of terror have been living through. It stays in your body and your mind. And that trauma is very, very difficult to erase. It's pretty much impossible. And especially when you are that young, as so many children are in Palestine, you are that young, that trauma is being is being buried within them from such an early age, and the assault is ongoing. It's not stopping. That's the thing. It's not even like they can catch their breath and try to do the work to heal. It's never ending. You can't hate Israel enough.
Nowhere is safe.
It's true.
There's no, they hit a building that was housing displaced people.
Kids
today.
having cardiac arrest, going into cardiac arrest because of how traumatized they are.
full of women and children. They literally hit, like, they took down a nut factory. Or there's a famous brand
It's not
of
even
nuts called
post
Refi.
traumatic because it hasn't
They took
passed.
down the warehouse where workers were working to roast the nuts. Like, this is just wanton destruction and punishment of the Lebanese. I don't really understand why. I mean, I know the Israelis do this, but they seem to be incredibly angry about the ceasefire with Iran.
Oh, they
They're
are.
taking it out on Lebanon. There's no military benefit to doing.
You know what I think it is too? I think it's Israel. I think it's Israel going, we don't give a shit whatever Donald Trump decides to pull back from because we are in charge here. I do think I think it is a move that they are making to demonstrate that nothing will hold them back. And it doesn't matter if the United States is not fully on board. Now, ideally, they want that so that they can have, they can have it be the US who is striking alongside them, who is taking some of the heat as well. But ultimately, Netanyahu and the Israeli government are showing that until someone stops them, they're not going to stop.
What they did today, other than just, I think, carrying out domestic bloodlust, literally, to satisfy an angry population that doesn't want the war on Iran to be over. And it stands to be seen what Iran will do here. Iran repeatedly said throughout this war that Lebanon would be a part of the settlement. And then yesterday we saw the Pakistani official who announced the ceasefire, who negotiated it, say Lebanon would be included. You saw the Iranians say Lebanon would be included. Since I got up today, all the Israelis have done is destroy Lebanon over and over and over again. The Iranians apparently have announced that they're going to close this. They've closed the Strait of Hormuz because of this and potentially will withdraw from these negotiations. I think the Iranians, well, it stands to be seen if they will, but for their own sake, they should absolutely withdraw from these negotiations if the fire against Lebanon that doesn't stop. I don't just say that from a personal, self-interested perspective. I say that because this is a sign that these people are empowered if you don't stand up for your demands. And if the Israelis are doing this to Lebanon now, they will do it to Iran again. And so will the Americans.
Yeah, horrific stuff. And Rania, we're really glad you're safe. And I mean, it's what to say. I don't know, Vijay, if you want to react to that.
I mean, I just want to give Rania a hug because, I mean, this is extremely, affecting. Yeah.
Yeah, I know. I think about all of the journalists and online commentators who either they are living through this because they are literally there in Lebanon or wherever else has been struck, or they are in diaspora. They are having to report on this violence against a lot of them with families still there who those are they have a personal connection to these places that are on fire. Like that must be very difficult. I can't imagine the personal element of having to report on the terrorism that is daily enacted on your home and on your people.
It's I mean, I was just saying before you came on, Rania, that the Israelis first entered in Operation Litani
What would stop Israel? The United States.
in 1978. That was the first illegal occupation of the south of Lebanon. It's never ended. I mean, they've had to withdraw in 2000, in 2006 they failed, but since 1978, I mean, I don't want to out anybody's age, but I have a feeling that this occupation of Lebanon is older than the two of you, or close to. Yeah, it's definitely not older than me. But it is outrageous. it dwarfs what happened in Sabra and Shatila. Sabra and Shatila become a nothing compared to this. And I think you are absolutely right. I think the Iranians were correct to put it on the 10-point plan that any negotiation for a comprehensive peace, especially now with Iran having the strategic upper hand, has to include the entirety of West Asia. It has to include Lebanon, it has to include the Palestinians, and so on. And the Israelis are just not going to accept this. It's going to take a long time. The United States is coming to an acceptance of this, I think, Rania, because of a strategic loss against Iran. They don't know what to do next. Yeah, I mean, Trump's tweet suggested that the escalation ladder goes to nuclear. There's nothing else. And if 100 million.
Joe Biden could have stopped Israel. Yeah. And yet here we are today with obnoxious online liberals still trying to pretend as if that were never the case. I'm like, do you forget that the first 16 months of this genocide, the genocide began under Joe Biden? Joe Biden, who is an avowed Zionist, loves Israel. But Caroline, we could be at brunch. If Kamala were president, we'd be at brunch.
Iranians are there, and 100,000 of them say that, look, I'd rather die.
I genuinely think that it really shows how unprincipled and immoral liberals are when they have a problem with genocide only because Donald Trump is in office. But they didn't have a problem with it when a Democrat was in office, when Joe Biden was in office. And were Kamala to have become president, well, she said in her own words that she was not going to be the same. She was not going to be any different except for having a Republican in her cabinet. Kamala would have continued with supporting Israel. And it's like this hypothetical that liberals want to exchange in when it's like, look, yeah, Kamala is not president. So we don't have the actual reality of a Kamala presidency, but we know what she clearly indicated, and we know what Joe Biden did. We know what Joe Biden did for 16 months. We know that Joe Biden did nothing to rein in Israel. Nothing. And they laughed about it.
Well, that's what it might take, for the United States. And you use the right word, bloodlust. A bloodlust. They want a piece of flesh. They want to kill people. But, you can't kill everybody. What's the population of Lebanon? 5 million. What's the number of displaced? Was yesterday one.
We know that establishment Dems want a war with Iran. We know that they agree when it comes to policy, when it comes to their views on war and dominance in the region. It's just a matter of difference in optics, difference in how well we wear the mask.
Yeah, 1 out of 5 people. By the end of today, what do you think? 1.5 million displaced, maybe higher. Who knows? Yeah, it doesn't matter. Are the Israelis going to kill 5 million Lebanese? Are they going to kill 100 million Iranians?
The thing is, the reason that I don't even bother to get into it with a lot of these libs online, especially ones who have any type of platform and are just people who make content out of politics, it's because they still won't call a genocide a genocide. They still won't do that, which tells you everything about who these people are. And continuing to get into the muck with them, and all they want to do is blame the online left. That's all they want to do. They're unserious. They are not principled. They are not ideologically anything other than reverent to the establishment. That's what it's about for them. So it for me, it's like I don't even like I saw ContraPoints chirping again, the usual crowd. And I just ignore them now. I'm like, you have dug your own grave. You have really shown your own ass. And you won't even be against genocide. So we have nothing to talk about here because of course you're going to keep defending Biden's genocide. And of course you would be defending Kamala's genocide were she the president.
Are they going to kill all the Palestinians? They couldn't kill 2.3 million Palestinians. Okay. They couldn't do it. You can't do it. You have to live with people. And that's the message that's not getting through to the Israeli population. You're going to have to live with the Lebanese. You're going to have to live with the Palestinians. The Iranians are there. Yeah. I think the message, Rania, is getting through in the Gulf Arab states, in the Gulf Coordination Council. You're going to have to live with Iran. Iran is now going to dictate the terms to the Emiratis. It is going to dictate the terms to Kuwait. It's going to dictate the terms to Bahrain. It's going to dictate the terms to Qatar. You're going to have to deal with it. Okay. Oman and Iran own the Strait of Hormuz. For the first time in their history, they are claiming it. That's done. Yeah, that's a strategic victory.
And they did
Well,
that because
Israeli
of the
population
U.S.
the
and
population of the
Israel
United States
starting
is going to have to
war.
come to terms with the fact that Iran is a 2,000-year civilization, 100 million people. They ain't going
Natalie lost
anywhere.
me months ago.
The
Yeah, she lost
Lebanese,
a lot of people.
the United States has tried. What was the first intervention? It was called Operation Blue Dart, I think, or Blue something. Yeah, 14,000, 15,000 US Marines, 1970s again. The United States has intervened. The Israelis have intervened. The Lebanese, they're not going anywhere. They're not going anywhere. In fact, instead of going further to the right, I would say they're getting strengthened in their sense of resistance and a Lebanese identity. And I think this is indeed just kill as many people before you can't kill anymore, right? That's what we mean. Kill as much,
It's what the Israelis
destroy as
do.
many until you can't. Yeah, exactly.
I mean, we won't know until after the fact, but the hope today, if there is any hope, because people are so desperate for this to be over, there's a real fear that this could be the opening salvo to a new level of escalation here in Lebanon. And if that's the case, that'll be completely devastating for the entire country. It already was devastating. And on the other end of it, we do know that Israel has a pattern of ahead of any sort of imposed ceasefire of
striking
just acting
even
like
harder
maniacs and killing as many people as they can.
Yes, they do that. When a ceasefire has been issued, they strike even harder.
Doing as much damage as they possibly can. So people are waiting to see which one of those, ends up happening. And, I said in the beginning of this war when Hezbollah got involved, because I was quite critical of that decision to enter this war. But at the same time, I understood, there is just from like a basic strategic standpoint, there's something that did make sense. It's a huge gamble.
I think they're referring to Iran as a unified empire rather than like the totality of it as a civilized society.
But it did make sense that, if you're going to do it now, kind of the thinking is what they had, and do it when there's, Iran to do it with, and you're not doing it on your own because, Israel was killing people and bombing Lebanon every single day before this new escalation. But it stands to be seen what Iran will do. It really does, because, one of the things I also have warned about is if it becomes a fight that's just
do you have more respect for the Tucker Carlson types that have seen the tides changing and pivoted against Trump Israel? They're ones that are still going down with the ship. Look, don't get me wrong. Anyone who's out here critical of Israel, critical of the constant war machine that is in operation, I think that's good. That's how I feel. I am, I'm anti-war. I'm an anti-imperialist. Now, Tucker Carlson and Marjorie Taylor Greene are not anti-imperialists. They are not principled anti-war advocates. So I have always said, have caution when it comes to prominent conservatives who have broken with Trump or are critical of Israel more than their counterparts are, but don't be taken in believing that we're all fully on the same side. So I don't know. That's the answer I have for you.
Between Hezbollah and Israel, Lebanon's in big trouble. Because Hezbollah on their own, they can stop an Israeli occupation, maybe. I mean, Israel's still going to create a dead zone, but on their own, it's just not, they can't stop Israel. Not that Iran could, but with Iran, they were at least distracted, and you had the Iranians and Hezbollah coordinating these sort of hits on the Israelis. But on their own, they're just a non-state actor. They don't, have ballistic missiles to fire the way that
Tucker Carlson is an opportunist. I've said that as
Iran
well.
can at the Israelis. So it stands to be seen what happens here. But I just want to go back to, I know there's a segment of Iranians in the government who have a view that this...
Marjorie Taylor Greene is not anti-war, and she's not an anti-imperialist. She was on, it was some, I can't remember what appearance she had made, but yeah, essentially asking her, asking her how she feels like in general about the, sorry, I'm trying to remember exactly what it was. Essentially, it was somebody asked her to get a better read on her actual position towards war and towards imperialism. And she did not give an answer that was a condemnation of war and imperialism. It was still she believes in that. It's just, she has broken from a lot of other conservatives and a lot of America First conservatives on fully supporting Israel. She calls it Israel's war, right?
Could potentially, this 2-week pause, these negotiations could be a cover for the Israelis and Americans to recalibrate as they have before. So we'll see how serious Trump is, but Trump did come out after lying. He lied. He knew when the Pakistanis said and the Iranians said Lebanon would be concluded, he knew that was part of it. And he very cavalierly today, as a throwaway.
Oh, I think I know what it was. I think they asked about, somebody asked Marjorie about defunding the military, and she was like, no, I'm not for that. Of course she believes in a strong military in the same way that Tucker Carlson does. They are not out here saying defund the Pentagon. They're not get rid of all 800 bases that the U.S. military has around the world. Get rid of the U.S. military, which is the #1 institutional polluter of greenhouse gases in this world. No, that's never going to be what their position is. Marjorie wanted to invade. Marjorie she just doesn't have any power anymore, Suddenly sleepy, thank you for the tier 1. They also very much want to deport everyone. Yes, they're right wing. They're right wing conservatives. That has not changed. They are still racist. They are white supremacists. They are American exceptionalists. They are fascists. That has not changed just because they don't fully align on every point. They are Christian nationalists.